The LSF has been developed by economists, and so there are no free lunches in the LSF. And so it is very much the case that it is not only about trade-offs between dimensions in the current time, whether it's between spending on health outcomes or spending on education outcomes or spending on defence outcomes or those sorts of things, but it's also about intergenerational trade-offs because if we spend today and have to tax or raise debt to fund that spending, that means that somebody else is having to fund those taxes, or somebody else in the future is going to have to pay off that debt. So there are these inescapable choices that as a Treasury and as economists we always feel an obligation and duty to point out to people that there are no such things as free lunches, and what the framework does is allow us to talk about the cost of lunch and the cost of this lunch versus that lunch. The distributional aspects of well-being, that is to say how income or education or health outcomes or safety outcomes are distributed across the population, is a relatively new part of the framework, and it's a response to the observation that in certain aspects of life inequality is increasing, and that this is a concern to people, and it is also a concern to economic performance and social performance. And so what we're trying to do with the framework is enable us to use the data and shed light on the way in which inequalities are playing out in society, whether it's between men and women, or between young and old, or between different ethnic groups, or between just the concentration, if you like, of wealth and income across different groups. How much richer is the top 10% versus the bottom 10% of society. You can see how these things move now, and we have data on those things, and so it's really important for us to be able to bring that into our analysis and be able to bring evidence to bear on these questions of fairness, distribution and equity that governments are charged with managing on behalf of society. Risk and resilience are another part of the framework which we are making explicit because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Bad things and good things can happen. You don't know exactly when and in what form, but you have to be prepared as a society and as an economy. So the concept of risk and resilience is to help us get our minds around the way in which we as a society and an economy can respond to these adverse events or these opportunities that arise, whether it's natural disasters or technological change. The area of risk and resilience is about how we can adapt and change in response to these things, and whether or not those adaptations and those responses serve to improve our living standards, whether or not we have some vulnerability that needs to be addressed somehow. The Living Standards Framework is focused on vulnerabilities in New Zealand first and foremost, but having said that, many of the, if you like, adverse shocks or threats to well-being in New Zealand do come from offshore, whether they are, global economic events or, increasing terrorism risks and things like that. These are things we need to be resilient to, and there are measures that we can take in society and by governments to improve the way that we can respond to those and adapt to those, and get back to life as normal, or life is better than normal, hopefully, when these sorts of events happen. The Treasury's overriding goal with the framework is that we are able to use the framework alongside the other tools that we have to make sure that we do the best we can to support governments in making decisions that they believe are in the best interests of New Zealanders, both current generations and future generations. So we don't have specific goals ourselves for living standards of New Zealanders, other than that they should be increased over time. But it is up to the governments of the day, and it is up to elected politicians to make the trade-offs and make the value judgments that they need to in our system in order to deliver their interpretation of what voters have asked them to do.